Wait a minute. What a move!
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
So this is game 3 of the Speed Chess Championship Final 2023, played in September between Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen. And these guys are just finding the most insane tactics in stupid amounts of time. This one's awesome and goes right to the wire. Do not assume the result. So Hikaru with white, and he kicks off with e4. Now we get e5 from Magnus, a Spanish game on the board, or Roy Lopez. a6 kicks back this bishop. For anyone newer to chess, why can't you take, win a pawn? Well, queen d4, double attack, you win back your pawn. This is a recurring theme. So the bishop drops back, we see knight f6, same tactics exist, the pawn is undefended. We get castles, bishop e7, and now white here defends that e-pawn. The most common way is with rook e1. d3 though, selected by Hikaru, so there is now a threat to eliminate and win a pawn. So b5 breaks the pin. We get bishop b3, castles, rook e1, and now d6 defends this e-pawn, so the knight is free to go knight a5, pick up that bishop. So now c3 gives it some room to tuck back after Magnus chases it away. Why is he sidelining his knight? Well, now he gets this c5 break. Just what you want, clamping on the centre. Knight bd2, this white knight going on a very standard journey. We get knight c6 coming back into the game. Knight f1, what's all that about? Well, it's heading in this direction, this sort of thing. Rook e8 played, knight g3. Both players now chuck in these bunny ears moves. Gives the king some room, or some Luft, means air in German, and also it's connected with supporting d4 or d5, but not allowing some annoying bishop pin pressuring the knight, which supports these kinds of breaks in the centre. Now bishop f8, weird looking move when you first see it, but it activates this rook, supports the pawn. d5 could be on the cards, and d4 is now a good move for white, very playable. But Hikaru goes knight h2, kind of underdeveloping a piece, sidelining it, allowing Magnus to take the centre. Why would he do this? Well, queen f3, d4, Magnus carries on with the expansion, and knight to g4. This is Hikaru's idea. He wants to attack. He allows Magnus to take, double the pawns, which is the best move, but now he gets some clamp going on that f5 square. So g6 played to cover some key knight jumps. Bishop b3, that one comes back to this diagonal. This one's now locked forever, of course, and so bishop e6 played to challenge that bishop, and brilliant move now from Hikaru of bishop to d5. Played in about a second. You know, these guys have such a deep understanding. Why would you now allow this to happen, black to take, kind of ruin that pawn structure? This one could become weak. Well, actually this is bad, because after the knight backpedals somewhere, knight b8 the best move, you've just opened up this crucial e4 square, and although this pawn could be weak in future, this is massive compensation. Look at all the squares it stares at, and this pawn helps clamp on f5, so kicking it away will be tough. So we don't see that bishop captured. Rook c8 defends this knight, and a4 now from Hikaru, probing at the queenside pawns, trying to activate his rook. And so Magnus plays in an excellent positional manner, changing the pawn structure again by taking on c3, pawn recaptures, and b4. He's trying to gain access to this d4 square for his knight, which is why taking that pawn is a bad move. Knight d4 can come straight away. The queen has to retreat, then you capture here, and you've opened the rook. Knight c2 is a threat. There's a 2-on-1 pawn thing going on here. This bishop could bounce out soon. Awful for white. So you don't want to be taking. Hikaru goes bishop b2, supports these key squares and keeps the c-file closed. Now we get queen d7, pressuring g4. Hikaru now regretting that weakened pawn, but more brilliancy from him. Knight f1, played within about 15 seconds, and he's defending that pawn by tactical means. Because if black takes it, Can you see the tactical shot for white here? The counter shot which keeps the game balanced. Because black could have done this, isn't terrible, but not necessarily the best. So the move you can play is bishop takes on f7 check. Well done if you found that one. And which the move? Queen takes is best, and the game would go something like this. But if the king sidesteps, well then you take here, and you're on the queen, you're doing really well. So we don't see that pawn drop. Instead, Magnus takes here. The bishop recaptures and he lands the knight on d4. You can't live with that one, so the bishop chops. Pawn recaptures, opening the c-file for the rook. And now great play from Hikaru. He brings the rook to challenge b4, where this bishop wants to come and sit, supported by a5. You know, that's why you don't want to go knight d2 straight away or bishop b4. So he does this one, and there's a threat now to invade with rook b7, supported by the bishop. That's why you've no time for, say, a5, bishop b4 there. You can challenge the file, but it's a very balanced kind of move. So Magnus takes here the most ambitious way to play and says, okay, I'm bringing the rook to the d file, I'm winning your pawn, show me what you got. So knight g3 from Hikaru. He ditches that pawn but gains access to this e4 square. Really instructive, you know, a pawn sacrifice to clear a square. Shades of the last game that I covered between these guys in this final. I'll link it at the end. And that was a big threat to go knight f6 check. So bishop e7 covers that square, and now a fantastic move by Hikaru Nakamura, using all the kind of resources in the position. The king position, the knight, the queen, this rook trying to invade, everything like that. Can you see the best move for white here? And just while you're looking for that one as well, if you're not yet subscribed, do consider, massively helps me out, and you're more likely to never miss a future video. And if you're feeling really generous, smash that like button too. Again, a big help. So the move here for white is rook to b7. Fantastic move by Hikaru Nakamura, using all the tactics, because if queen takes, there's this knight f6 check, then the bishop captures and you pick up the queen. White is doing well, but still an interesting game. So coming back here, Magnus doesn't touch that rook. There's a threat to win that bishop, so rook d7 covers the threat. You can now swap rooks, but Hikaru decides to nudge back, pressure this pawn, so rook c6 adds some defense. This rook doubles, supports the other one. We get king g7, rook b8 hits the back rank, and now Magnus's best move was to drop back with the rook and challenge this active piece. But he doubles his rook on the c-file, threatening rook c1 check, and Hikaru finds the second brilliancy, a double brilliancy within about 5 moves. Can you guess what he played here to send Magnus onto the back foot, reeling for the rest of the game? So the move he finds, the second rook sacrifice in this position of rook to g8. Well done if you found that move.
Wait a minute, rook g8 check. Rook g8 check. What a move. Wow.
And you have to accept it. If you sidestep, well, the second rook joins the party and you're actually about to mate that king. You know, the knight covers this square, or you have to give up huge material. So it has to be taken. Now we land the check, and finally Hikaru gets this X-ray attack working. Picks up that queen. So Magnus checks. He gets this rook off the board. The king steps up. And after king g7, queen a5, pressuring the pawn, rook dropping back, f3, rook e6, g3, g5. The big question in this position is, does Magnus have a fortress? And he once famously said, you know, years ago now, there's no such thing as a fortress. And he's had to eat his words a few times since. Is he right here? Is this a fortress? Can you make progress? Well, Hikaru, he starts marching his king around. Few queen excursions, but nothing much. Here comes the white monarch. And the big question is, when it reaches the position that's in the danger zone, the central squares, can it force some kind of breakthrough? Can you zugzwang these black pieces? So we get to here. There's a threat now to go king takes on e6, using the fact that this pawn is pinned to the king. So king g6 played. That's a joke. You can't actually take here, right? For anyone who's new to chess, the pawn would support the rook and your king would be in check. so you're not really threatening that. But okay, king g6 played. Now the king comes back to e4. We get these couple of moves, and actually here the players do agree a draw. An exciting draw at that though. Now why is it a draw? Well, there is indeed a fortress here. There's nothing to do, because even if you tie up, say, 2 of the pieces, this one will always have shuffle squares. Say you tie up these 2, well, this one will shuffle, and so on. There's too many pieces for black. You can't force a Zugzwang position. I hope you enjoyed this one. See another game between these two, same match, epic encounter. Do check out that video on screen, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks very much.